Actually, I am doing just dick with Cheetah there. Sorry. I think it was BBF had the heart attack there. That's just to illustrate the sorts of things that happen. There is an immortal old poet once wrote, "The best laid plans of mice and men just fall all to shit," or something. What happens is both Cheetah and I have been chairman of our respective conventions for more than some of the attendees have been alive, and we have seen some stuff. Boy, have we seen some stuff. So we just talk about it because years later, it's funny. It wasn't funny when it happened. Years later, it's funny. And since this is your reference, I think it only appropriate that my colleague Cheetah start us off.
Yeah. What shall we start with? With the more recent stuff or with the really, really old stories?
Let's go back to ancient history, so one of these idiots out here could say, "I wasn't even born then." Yeah.
There's people who weren't born around like EF8, and they can attend now because they're 18 these days. We just before we went on air, we were talking about stuff that happened 20 years ago, and that's still one of our most remembered stories we share, because you might have heard part of that story already. Around Eurofurence 6, so pretty much exactly 20 years ago, there used to be a guest of our convention by the name of Nikobe. And now that, he was a special piece of work. He was one of those pathologic, psychopathic persons who was not only a narcissist, he also liked to mentally abuse everyone else. And he was working with a Belgian traveling circus, and if you've ever seen his face, he looked like he got the one or other punch on the nose. And he was completely dysfunctional. And but he was also the first specimen of that kind we had at the con. Nowadays, if you've got a Twitter account and you have some sort of celebrity popular status, you get attacked all the time. There will be people who are sending you bomb threats, death threats, and it's like always like, I don't care. That guy though turned up at the convention and started stalking individual guests and try to get some sort of sexual engagement out of them by, I can't even describe it. It's more like he went to people and said, "Look, I have this gun with me and I'm going to shoot myself if you don't have sex with me because I'm depressed." And the furry fandom was very innocent back then, and people generally trusted each other. So most of the people he ever met had their guards lowered to the floor, including myself. And I had some contact online before we talked about technical things like computers, arcade machines, and he seemed like a genuinely nice guy until we actually met. And over the course of the 3 days of the con, complaints came in, and we didn't believe the first, but then it got worse and worse. And until at the very end, he actually started breaking a glass bottle and threatening people in the lobby of the youth hostel. That's when we then finally officially threw out and gave him a lifetime ban. But don't even believe that we would get away with that, at least in his eyes, because he figured out our private telephone numbers. And from that day on, he started calling us for months, every single day. And he also found out our office numbers, so he called us at the office every single day. And he would go on like, "I can prove that I'm innocent. I have official court documents that tell you that I am harmless, and you must admit me. Let me back in." And it went to the point where we picked up the telephone, and that was back in the time when telephone still had a receiver with a cable on it. So we used to hang the receiver out the window and leave him like that for like 3 hours. And when you picked it up after 3 hours, he was still on. And then came the moment when he flew to the United States and decided to attend Anthrocon. And as far as I know, did pretty much exactly the same, just that he hadn't been banned there yet.
He has the honor of being the first person ever banned from Anthrocon. Now, I kind of wish I'd known Cheetah back then, so he could have called me and said, guess what's coming your way? And it was the same story. The convention started out quietly, normally, and complaints started to come in of this weird guy that was following people around and following them to their hotel rooms and demanding to be let in and join them in their sexual activities. I got enough of these complaints. I told the security, okay, I want to see this guy. You find him, bring him to me. Found him, they brought him to me, and before I could say a word, he started shouting, people have been attacking me. I tried to go down the stairs, and people grabbed me and threw me down the stairs. I looked at him and I said, well, you don't seem to have any bruises or cuts on you, but he was absolutely adamant that he was being attacked from all sides, that everywhere he went, people were punching him and kicking him. So I managed to get a word in edgewise, and I told him, hey, look, this is my first year running a convention. I'm dealing with a lot of things, and I don't want you to be one of them. Here's the deal. If I don't hear your name again this weekend, I'm going to forget all about it. That lasted about 6 minutes after he left. When it was going on all day, I finally got a phone call from a friend of mine who I knew very well. He was on his way up to his room, and this little Belgian fellow came running up as he was opening the door and shouted, "Would there be any jiffing going on in there?" My friend said, well, that's really not any of your business. And he started to shout, I have friends in the Russian mafia, and they will come and kill you if you do not jiff with me. So my friend at that point said, I really think it's time you were leaving. And he walked into the room, and this little Belgian fellow tried to go into the room. This friend was previously in the military, specifically a United States Naval SEAL. And this Belgian found himself on the opposite side of the hallway against the wall. The door closed, and my friend called me. And as I was telling security to go find him, he came running up to me, saying, there are people with drugs in the room. I saw it when he opened the door. They have drugs in their room. I said, listen, that's not any of my problem. That's a problem for the police. That's not my business. And he ran away. I realized I said the wrong thing, because 10 minutes later, the police arrived. And they went to my friend's room. He let them in. Now, I wish I had been there. They said, we've had a complaint. We have to look in the room. He said, sure, come in. I wish I was there, because I could picture the scene as the police looking around saying, what's this? Well, that's called a fursuit, officer. What do you do with it? Well, you see, you put it on and you pretend to be a raccoon. There's no drugs in it, right? No, sir. Oh, okay, we're leaving. Goodbye. They found the Belgian and said, sorry, we didn't find anything. And he started screaming, they threw them out the window. I demand you search the grounds. And the police said, yeah, we would, but we just got another call of a very serious person that we have to go and see. So they left. We threw this guy out of the hotel and told him, Russian mafia or no, don't come back. And the same. He hounded me after the convention. Thankfully, just by email. He sent me an email afterwards saying, I can't believe that you would support child pornographers. They had child pornography in that room. Okay, reply. I said before it was drugs. All of a sudden, it's child pornography. I don't believe you. Send delete. And the next day, here are some of the examples of the child pornography I found in their room. Delete, 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 delete. We heard from him a couple of times, and then he disappeared. He either died or he got the help that he needed. I really hope it's the second one.
Yeah, for us, the terror lasted for at least 5 years. He was still sending out threats to our conlocation way until EF10, so more than 4 years later. And then eventually he dropped off the face of the earth, and I do not miss him. I do not miss him at all. Yeah, around that time, I watched the recording of your story hour that ran on Friday, and you mentioned the signs of do not go out into the woods in your fursuit because it's hunting season. I actually found a photo of that, so just in case people thought you're making this up. So here it is.
Yes.
Here's the proof that Uncle Kage's story hours are 100% true. Do not fursuit in the woods at night. It's hunting season. This is no joke. Stay on the marked hiking paths. I don't know what makes it legal to hunt at night, but, well, I don't know. Hunting laws are weird in Germany. It's really a weird thing.
Can I ask you a question, Cheetah?
Of course.
Have you ever had any difficulty with credit card processing?
We had lots of problems with PayPal. But since we switched to credit card processing, everything has been running smoothly. But PayPal for events is the worst thing. Because they place event tickets in their high risk category, and that means that you can't get your payout from your PayPal account until after the event is over and all chargebacks have been processed. And that nearly bankrupted us at least once, because we didn't know it was a change in the rules of terms of use. And it hit us like just when the first down payment for the location was due, and we were like, "Oh, holy F! How are we going to survive this?" And actually, the board of director and our cashier, we all had to take private loans to pay for Eurofins until we got the money back from PayPal. So, if you're planning to run an event, use everything. Don't use PayPal. Don't use PayPal.
I don't know if I ever told you, before I took over Anthrocon, Anthrocon was a little tiny convention called Albany Anthrocon that took place in the city of Albany in New York. And I went the first year. I was their guest of honor the second year, and I got to see some things behind the scenes that were very, very interesting. In those days, we're talking the 1990s, you didn't have PayPal, you didn't have Square, you didn't have anything like that. If you wanted to accept credit cards, you actually had to have a bank merchant account. And you had to be an established business to get one of those. Well, the people who ran Albany Anthrocon wanted to accept credit cards. They weren't an established business. They couldn't get a credit card account. So apparently, one of them was friends with somebody who owned a local business and said, "Can we borrow your credit card machine for the weekend?" And they accepted credit cards using this store's credit card account. They found out afterward that this is a federal level offense in the United States. Oops. It is against multiple government banking laws. Now, to this day, I don't think they ever got the money back. No one's been able to tell me. No one is still around, but always obey the laws if you want to start a convention.
Yes. It's one of the main reasons we no longer move Eurofins to other countries. Because back in the day when we were 100 people, there were not so many laws you could break, but with the liabilities that are associated with a 3,000 people con, you'd have to have your own, basically your own legal division trying to find out what the laws in the specific country are. Even with EU kind of like leveling things out a bit, it's impossible. You will step into all the traps. And besides, there's not a bigger hotel in Europe anyway, so no point in that.
I don't know how you could say that, and I have to disagree with you. Wasn't it an adventure going to different countries? What about the last time you had Eurofurence outside Germany?
You mean the final time?
Something like that?
Oh, yes. You're, of course, talking about Eurofurence 9.
Disaster?
Yeah, it was... Depends from which side you see it. When we do our war stories, we usually say it's a disaster. And for me back then, it was. But 16 years after, honestly, I also have to admit we had a lot of fun there. And the pain goes away with the time. So why did we, after being in Germany for 4 years, why did we go to the Czech Republic, who were not part of the EU back then? Why did we do that? Why did we go to the Czech Republic? Which was just a kind of Eastern Bloc country in the early stages of modernization? Well, because the community was small and there was a very big, what should I say? A very loud minority insisting that Eurofurence had to be an international con, because that's how the inventor, that is Unki, intended it to be. And they were right. When Unki started the first international firm meet under the name of Eurofurence, the idea was that it was like Comic-Con, wandering around different cities and different people would host it. Only that this is not as easy as it sounds. So because we're Germans, we know German laws, and we also founded a German registered, incorporated entity for this con. Naturally, we did it in Germany because it was so much easier. But that year, they started complaining and said, okay, you got to move it to another country at least one more time, because we're the Euro first, not the German first. We were like, oh, okay, have it your way. So we asked around.
Hold on.
Yeah.
Can't say it. I can. It was the French. Okay, go on.
I don't really remember. It might have been the French. So we asked around on the forums on Furrymark, hey, is there anybody in any other country who can help us organize a location? If you organize the location and the facilities and the stage and the rooms, we can organize all the rest, but we can't do it in a foreign language, especially in a country where rarely someone speaks English. And we had some people from the Czech Republic who are actually they were pretty nice people, like Mbala and Jamango, and we kind of trusted them. But the language barrier proved to be a lot bigger than we anticipated. What we didn't see is that in the Czech Republic, back in the time, when Europe was like a novel idea for them, if you didn't speak the language, they thought you were an idiot. They just assumed you were too dumb to speak the language. I'm pretty sure that's not what they did intentionally, but they kind of they don't speak a language. We probably don't speak loud enough. We have to speak louder to them. Maybe then they'll understand. But of course we didn't. And so in a few ways we were pretty much ripped off. The big thing why in the end we decided to go to this location, because it was really, really cheap. It took like a 12-hour travel from where I live to go there, and it looked kind of nice on a superficial level, But oh god, the moment we arrived there, just nothing.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Just nothing was like they promised us. So they
it was a gulag.
It was like a very, very cheap youth hostel. Actually, it looked kind of nice. Just let me show you something. So this is what it looked like. Yeah, so it was like a hostel for like sports activities, and they had like a playing field and like basketball stuff and lots of places to stay. And there's the 5 square meters of working Wi-Fi. And it was actually not that bad, especially when we were there. The weather was magnificent. I mean, it was a very pleasant, like 26 degrees or so. The beer was like 50 cents a bottle. So naturally, after the first day, nobody gave a damn about how bad the location is. And it was actually not that bad. I mean, okay, for Uncle Kage, maybe this was a little bit of a culture shock, but if you're used to like European youth hostels, this was not too much of a step down, no? Yeah, and that was our main stage, the circus tent. Yep. So we built our main stage in a circus tent because they did not have a room that was big enough for us. But this circus tent was more like an upside down noodle sieve. It had more holes than roof, and we spent the first time with a ladder and lots of duct tape trying to fix all the holes in the roof. And we were supposed to get like professional lighting equipment and microphones and stuff like that, but none of that ever showed up. It was basically one Czech guy who wasn't a furry who came with like a little, I don't know, like a little horse trailer and put out like 20 years old loudspeaker boxes and some puny lights and a box of wireless microphones who didn't work. It got very, very interesting from there on. Because we had so many technical problems, including the infamous trussing pole that was under live current because the earthing didn't work. They had the regular 3-phase power plugs, but the ground wire just wasn't connected. So you'd get electrical shocks if you touched one of the light poles. And we had a Paw Patrol show running there. We tried to have a Paw Patrol show, and we started off, and none of the microphones worked. Not a single one. They kept just cutting out every 10 seconds, and we were barely 5 meters away from the stage with the receivers. And we actually had to stop the show, wire everyone up with wired microphones, and since we did not have enough wire to run from the control booth to the puppet stage, we had to move the entire control booth forward 10 meters to make that possible in the middle of the show. But people stayed with us, and we still had a lot of fun there. But for someone who was used to like being in control of things, like doing chairman things, like being in control, we were not very much in control. I remember we had our little moments where we took revenge, like after the Paw Patrol show was done, we kind of... Well, Kage, how do I best explain what we did after the Paw Patrol show? We kind of let go of all the pent-up stress we had. And
okay. Here is where it becomes urban legend. Some people say that both of us started taking our clothes off and dancing on the stage. But I remember very clearly that that's not what happened.
Are you sure?
I'm very, very sure.
Yes. So much for the urban legend. It's amazing. That's when all the stress fell off, because that was the last event of the evening, and we were like so relieved. Yeah, so we literally danced around the tent naked that night.
These people busy for about 2 minutes. I have to go get something. It's
all
related
right.
to this. Just keep busy.
I will. I have little more bits from the archive, but I want to wait until Kage is back. Yeah, EF9 was a big adventure, but the food was good, the drinks were good, the weather was good. The only thing who was feeling miserable was myself and the stage team. We were just desperate the whole time trying to make things run. One person I really have to thank is actually Uncle Kage, because he saved our behinds in pretty much every single event. And you have to keep in mind that EF9 was the second time that he was a guest at Eurofurence. He was the year before was the year we got to know each other, when he was the guest of honor at Eurofurence 8. And he was amazing. He was so supportive. I'm really very, very grateful for that. Yeah, but we also took a little bit of revenge. Like during that YMCA thing, I don't think you could see it in the video, but the moment someone gave me that saw, I actually sawed one of the corners of one of the loudspeakers during that act. And after that, we had the final dance, and we turned the music inside that tent that didn't have walls up so loud that there were police complaints 2 cities down the street. And we did not give a damn, because were they supposed to do? Throw us out? Yeah, we were already beginning to leave, so not an issue there. And what was the other thing I wanted to tell you about what we did there? And yeah, of course, since it was a tent and we had it rented, and the nice thing is, if you don't speak the language, you can't complain to the owner, but the owner also can't complain to you. So. Night Fox drove there with his modded Jeep. So he had a big Jeep with like police lights on top. And Kage, are you back? Oh, he's back.
Back.
Yeah.
I was looking for a certain T-shirt, but I couldn't find it, so you're off the hook.
I know which you win. I'm wearing that in VR actually. So
great.
We at some point we also decided to not give a damn about the location anymore, and we were just having fun. And so I want to show you the beginning of Uncle Kage's story hour at EF9.
The man who said I would fuck it up if I had to introduce him. Ladies and gentlemen, first, put your paws together for Uncle Kage!
Isn't that beautiful? We also had a lot of fun. The moment we stopped giving a damn, we actually did have a lot of fun.
You didn't warn me, and neither did Night Fox, because I was sitting in the back seat and he was driving toward the tent, and I expected him to stop and let me out, and I would walk into the tent, but he started to speed up, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Just hold on."
Yeah, and that's what we did. Also, we played Jeopardy. We played a 4-hour round of Jeopardy that night. And, of course, Kage was on it.
3, 1, 2, 3. Yes.
Pick one. 400?
No, 600. Size matters.
Size matters 600.
I ain't gonna say it. I'm gonna say it. No. All right. What is rogue?
That is correct. Entirely correct. Who is Rogue? It's most famous macro wolf. I mean, if he's it's XXXXL. That's correct.
But what we actually were asking for is
what's Douglas shirt? Tilt 400. I think the question's open.
Yeah, and Hendy stayed in that position for the rest of the night.
We have to explain, in my defense, we have to explain a glass of wine this size was 25 krona, if I remember, or the local currency, which was about 2.5 cents American. I had 2,000 krona in my pocket. I bought the bar. So I might have had a little bit that night.
All right. I could go on like that for an hour, but we don't have so much time. So how about you tell the next story?
Oh, boy. Okay. Sometimes things do not go the way they're supposed to, as you might have seen. Way many years back at Anthrocon, I think it was Anthrocon 2000, 20 years ago. I'm not going to mention any names, but it's dangerous to let a computer programmer run your registration because they like to write registration software and they like to put all sorts of features in it. Features that teach. Well, I was walking through the hotel and I came into the lobby. I saw there was a long queue of people. I was very curious. I looked at the queue, went to the end of the lobby and down some stairs, the lower lobby. I walked past it down to the lower lobby and the queue went up to the registration desk. And I saw a gentleman who had written the registration software frantically typing at a keyboard. I went up and I said, "What's going on?" He said, "I almost got it. I've almost got it. Just give me a few more seconds. I've almost got it." Well, he didn't. He was a good man. There was obviously he like missed an exclamation point or had two quotes somewhere where he needed one, but the entire registration system took a nosedive. And we couldn't register people. We couldn't print badges. And this was Friday morning and opening ceremonies was coming up. So I enlisted the aid of some passing people who were not volunteers, but who became volunteers when I grabbed them and yanked them in my direction. Made them help me lift a big, heavy, powered lectern with a speaker in it onto a table. And I conducted the opening ceremonies in the lobby from that lectern for all the people who hadn't gotten their badges yet. And because I strongly believe that it is up to the boss of the organization to accept the blame for this, the official story that I gave to the people there was that it was the badge printers that I had found cheap on eBay because I don't like to spend money. So I bought these cheap badge printers, and the registration crew said, no, not those. And I said, no, they're cheap. We're going to get the cheap ones. And that was why everything had broken down. Was that the truth? Almost, maybe. I don't know. Maybe there was some grain of truth to it. But again, it's the boss's job to be responsible. I don't think in 20 years I've told people that, but it's been 20 years. Maybe it's time I can. Cheetah would not know about that because registration, at least every year I've been there, has been perfect and flawless at Eurofurence.
Let's pretend it is. Let's just pretend it is. Yeah, the one time we thought that if we let the professionals run hotel registration, that will work. No, it didn't. So we had this problem that we let people book their hotel rooms through our registration system, but that involved a lot of manual work and a lot of customer support, especially for Löwy and the reg team, that they simply couldn't do with 2,000 people in the house. So when we moved to the Estrel, I think we did that for one more year. And after that, we said, all right, the Estrel has a professional provider for hotel registration services. And we can let people register with their credit card. It's 2016. Everybody has a credit card these days. And if they don't, well, a friend has one. And we thought that was a reasonable assumption, and it kind of worked out. The problem is that even they are a customer of the biggest worldwide booking provider. And the problem is that these systems do not scale on peak load. And usually if there is an event, there's two types of bookings that occur. Either the one who runs the conference basically books a room block and pays for one room block. That's one way to book a hotel for a convention. The other way is that everyone who wants to take part in a business convention will eventually reserve a room, and since it's a overseeable number of participants, that usually works out because all the bookings are spread out over several months. What do furries do? Furries sit there with a chronograph on their hand, hitting F5, 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 and some of them have already pre-entered the registration form and have browser plugins so that when the registration form finally shows up, they only have to hit enter. And that's what 3,000 people did in 1 second. And you could still see the mushroom cloud on another continent. It was epic. It broke down so badly. And another problem that occurred once the room block was gone, which happened within, I don't know, it would have happened in a second, but because of the breakdown, it happened within the first 24 hours. People started poking around the online registration system and found out that you can display the group code. There is always, in the booking system, there's a code for the group, and so that you get the right tariff for the room you book. And they found out that the administration system for that did have the group code also as the password. So they entered the group code as the password and added themselves to the room block without actually registering. So we ended up with a hotel that was 25% overbooked. And no way to distinguish which of these registrations were genuine and which weren't. That got us in a very uncomfortable place. Because at first they thought, you guys have hacked our registration system. And I said, I don't think so. And we had a few people in the chat groups where the special trick was being explained, and we showed them that, and they were like, we're going to call you back. They never mentioned it again. And we solved the problem. Yeah, we solved the problem by counting on the usual attrition. That means that a lot of bookings will expire. A lot of people reserve hotel rooms and don't take them. And I think there was like 5 people left over, and they got like free accommodation in the overflow hotel. They weren't happy, but happy enough to not cause a stir. So yeah, in hindsight, our self-made registration system run by the programmer who wrote it actually would have done a lot better job on that.
I'll tell you something, Cheetah. We had that same problem for a number of years. And I would be on the telephone to the company's technical people, and they would be explaining to me how well it was running while I was yelling at them, no, it's not. I'm trying to book a room, and it just says Laden, American equivalent of Laden. And it was the same thing. Maybe it's the same people. Look, your secret URL to get here is, anthrocon.org/room. That's not going to work. These people are going to figure it out. We finally got it beat. It took years. We finally got a smooth, flawless hotel registration period. Anthrocon 2020.
Yeah. Again, let's just pretend it was that way. Anyway, did you ever have a fire alarm at your hotel?
Did I ever have a fire alarm at my hotel? Which year? You mean all of them? Yes, we've had those.
Have you ever caused one of them yourself?
Have I ever caught somebody? No. And that is a problem. That's a problem for me.
Have you ever triggered? Have you ever triggered a fire alarm yourself?
You mean from the smoke and flames rising from my head? The fog machine in my words?
One time I almost set the Maritime on fire. And the only thing that saved me from actual getting the hotel evacuated was that I was fast enough to call the front desk and have them cancel the alarm, because it takes like 30 seconds. And if nobody cancels the alarm within 30 seconds, it triggers the evacuation.
People don't understand. They love fog at the dances, right? They love to have fog at the dances. A lot of the fire detection systems are detecting something that looks like fog. We call it smoke in English. So if you're not careful, your dance could trigger a fire response.
Yeah. But that's not what I'm talking about, because we turn off the smoke detectors and have like a fire guard watching instead. But this time, it was my Paw Patrol PC that was running in my hotel room and decided to catch fire. Actually, the power connector from my hard drive did this and caused a huge amount of really nasty smoke. And it was pure luck that I was just coming into my room, and I basically dove for the PC and opened it and saw, okay, all right, this is manageable. So I put the fire out and immediately grabbed the telephone, called the front desk and said, if you're getting a reading from the smoke detector, that's me. Everything is fine. And to my luck, they believed me. Otherwise, we'd have fun for a day.
Okay, this picture, Cheetah, you need to take this picture and put a caption on it. This is your brain on Eurofurence.
Yeah, basically.
No, when you said, I thought, I didn't realize that you had an actual fire. No, we've only ever had phony ones. We've had people vaping in the hallway, and we've had smoke machines and fog machines setting off alarms. But to the best of my knowledge, we've never had an actual fire other than, as I said, the smoke and the flames coming off of my forehead at specific times.
Yeah, when they told me it's a FireWire hard disk, I thought they meant something else.
We had an incident at Anthrocon a number of years ago. It was a very stressful year for me. And the guest of honor actually saw that I was looking not well. and invited me across the street to get out of the hotel and to buy me a glass of wine, which I thought was very, very, very kind of him. He recognized that stress was affecting me. So he said, let's get you across the street and get you a booze. So he bought me some wine, and I just got it to my lips. And the fire brigade came around the corner with the sirens on and pulled up in front of the hotel and started unrolling hoses. I looked at the guests sadly, and I put the glass down. And I don't know if BBF was there. If he was, there's probably video. Firemen going into the hotel with their full fireproof gear on and their oxygen tanks and the hoses over their shoulders. And me right next to them shouting, "Who the hell set my hotel on fire?" So yeah. Do you notice that your sense of humor starts to become smaller and smaller and smaller as it gets close to Eurofurence?
Yes. It's not a time to prank a chairman 2 weeks before the con. You might lose an arm.
Yeah. Cheetahs can bite your arm off. So can cockroaches, for that matter. My staff have learned not to try to pull little tricks on me till after the convention. That's safe. Have you ever had a guest injure him or herself on your premises?
Oh, yes. We had a guest injure themselves on stage.
Really? Do you care to name names?
Oh, he starts with a P and ends with an E. And he has the word coyote in the middle. Yeah, it was.
I'm not surprised.
It was Pepper Coyote. Yeah, he had so much. He was drunk on stage, and he had so much fun. He did thing like throw his microphone like a lasso and jump around, and he somehow managed to break his foot during a song, but just by fooling around. And I have no idea how he did it. And he was very proud that operations would then push him around in the wheelchair for the rest of the con. I'm pretty sure he was fine after an hour or so, but he just enjoyed being like driven around in the wheelchair so much he just played on for 3 more days.
Surprised as a coyote he didn't try to chew his leg off after it got tangled up in the microphone wire.
Yeah, it was kind of like that. Oh, one day we should do a war stories panel with one of our paramedics, because we always have the same group of paramedics, and we had them for almost 10 years. And I usually get a report of incidents. They are all anonymized because of like data protection, stuff like that. But as the chairman, being liable, I have to know if there are any insurance cases that I should know about. And the stuff that people manage to do is incredible. There's people like who manage to get like burns on their back. I presume from the shower, but I don't know what else that would be. There's of course like a lot of sprayed ankles.
They tried to hire their fursuit while they were wearing it. That's what that's from.
Yeah, or they try to get like drunk in their fursuit and then forgot they took they remember they forgot to take their pain medication, and then they mix opiates with alcohol, which we've never had any casualty at EF so far. That is way below the statistic for events of that size. So I believe EF is a very safe place to be. But anyway, the kind of injuries that people get themselves, how it's already after 8. I mean, what's the rating for tonight? Is it PG rated, or is it more like? Well, did you know a penis could break? I didn't until I read it there. And whatever you do, don't Google it.
You put a cast on it? Is that what you do? Do you put a splint on it? How do you?
I don't know. I don't know. Just don't Google it. I did. I still can't sleep to this day.
Okay.
And I have no idea how much you have to miss. Don't. New topic. You do a story.
Okay, well,
this is going down the gutter.
We never talked about broken peni. Anthrocon had a small circumstance where, you see, we have people on our staff who are first aid trained. But we also have professional paramedics who work for the city of Pittsburgh who are on my payroll. I've got an ambulance on site, and I have a full professional medical crew.
That was kind of not so funny because he basically pushed in the entire back section of it, and it was the only car I had to bring my stuff back home. And I fixed the window with like garbage bags and lots of duct tape, and hoped that the chassis was still okay, and then drove it home like that. And then the next week I could bring it to the garage. But yeah, that was kind of exciting.
There was an incident at one Anthrocon. I'm still not exactly sure how it turned out. You mentioned earlier on that as the chairman of the convention, you get used to the bomb threats. You get used to the death threats. The phone rings. I'm going to murder you in your sleep. And Jackson, thank you very much. Click. It just doesn't bother you anymore. A couple of years ago. Oh, wait. Here's the truck. Do you have the car as well? That's the truck. Where's the car? Oh, no, there's the car.
Coming up.
Bad.
So, gotta get it here. So yeah, the entire left side was ruined, including all the windows and stuff like that. So, and it was raining like hell. So I was not so happy about that. I think that was year 15. Someone in the room can refresh my memory. Yeah.
No, wait a minute. Aren't you German?
That was at the Ringberg.
You're German and you're driving a Ford.
Yes, I am. They make good cars.
Are we talking about the same Ford?
Actually, it's a Ford Mondeo. I don't think they make that in America. I think that's actually a German Ford.
Probably not. Wow. Okay, yeah, now I see.
So yeah. But insurance covered it, so I got to live. Nobody hurt. But yeah, that was an unpleasant awakening. How much time do we have left?
A real quickie, since we only have a couple of minutes and my bottle is empty.
Hell, where did the time go?
A couple of years ago, I saw in the last day of Anthrocon a tweet or a live journal, I don't remember what it was, some social media, some guy who didn't like me got online and said, yeah, I found Uncle Kage's car at Anthrocon and I keyed the shit out of it. But that's nice. My car is not here.
Oops. Whose car was it?
Yeah. I was going to ask, but I decided, I'm just going to let this one go and see if nobody ever got back to me, but apparently some poor schmuck got his car keyed by somebody who thought it was mine. So I'm sorry, hey, it happens. Misplaced identity.
Okay, I have a final thing to say. I already said it when you were away, but I wanted to say it to you personally. And the audience, I wanted to thank you. You've saved our asses at Eurofern so many times, especially in the early days. You probably don't know how much you actually did for us, especially at EF9. I think we would have jumped into the toxic river if you hadn't been there, and helped us discover our fun again. And well, for that you get a group hug.
Oh yeah!
I remember that. I couldn't breathe.
Yeah, but still, you looked very happy that day.
Thank you very much. It's my pleasure to do so. If we don't look out for each other, who's going to? So as long as you keep giving me booze, I'll keep helping out anything you need.
And that's awesome. Yeah, I think we're out of time now. I have so much here on my thing. We could keep going for another hour if we had the time, but we don't. And I must say, so far things have been remarkably on time.
Careful. Don't say those words.
At least I am not going to be the one who is going to to delay the next event. So 15 minutes.
Let's get to it. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You're all very kind. Let's go to the next event now while we still have time to be on time. Goodbye, all.
Oh, someone told me we have still 15 minutes left.
We do?
Okay.
Oh.
I didn't know that. I should have read the schedule. I thought we had an hour.
Be right back.
He's getting a new bottle.
Yes. Oh, boy, oh, boy, oh, boy. I'm glad I bought two. Oh, okay. Sorry. Where were we? Oh, right. Oh, wow. We talked about occasionally people who give us trouble. I talked about the first person to get banned from Anthrocon. I could talk about the second person to get banned from Anthrocon.
Oh, yeah.
This gentleman, he had a bad habit of, again, this is the 1990s. The internet was very different then. This fellow had a bad habit of downloading furry art from the fledgling furry art sites and from bulletin boards, and then transferring them to CDs and trying to sell the CDs at the convention. Not just in the dealer's room, but in the lobby, in the swimming pool, in the parking lot, anybody who would listen. Well, that very, very first year that Anthrocon moved to Pennsylvania, we tried an experiment. We tried an experiment with an After Dark dealer's room that year. I don't think it was successful. But I told this guy, because of the nature of the artwork on your CDs, number one, you have got to only use artwork that you have a license for. And number two, you're only going to be in the After Dark dealer's room. Now, he didn't pay attention to that, so he got the letter after the convention. But like most people who get the letter, he was not going to accept it. And he sent me a note saying that, I'm going to call my solicitor and have you, up in court. You must allow me. This is restraint of trade, blah, 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 blah. So I made sure that the hotel was aware of this guy. I'm not going to mention his name, but just so I can refer to him, I'm going to call him Mr. Smelly. I was at the hotel one afternoon, and I happened to be looking over the shoulder of my contact, and I saw Mr. Smelly's name. And I said, wait a minute, what's that doing there? Isn't that the name of the guy I told you to watch out for? And he said, oh, yeah, I don't know how it got through. I said, well, can you fix it? He went, tap, tap, sure, gone. Well, Mr. Smelly then called the hotel to find out what had happened to his reservation, and he was told, oh, we're sorry, we had a small technical issue. We're not able to give you a room. We had an overflow hotel that year, and I made sure the overflow hotel knew that if this Mr. Smelly calls for a room, he's not to get one. That was on a Friday morning. Weekend came, and I came into work on Monday, and there was those little pink "while you were out" messages on my chair, and it was from the reservation lady at the Overflow Hotel. And I called her, and she sounded terrified. She saying, who is this guy? And she was very upset, and I just, calm down. Okay, tell me what happened. She had gotten a phone call on Friday afternoon. This gentleman had a very recognizable way of speaking. The English word is pedantic. I don't know if that translates well to other languages, but people call me pedantic. Is it?
Yep.
Pedantic. I got a doctorate. Screw you. So this guy called up and said, "Hey, good afternoon. I would like to inquire as to the possibility of obtaining a room for Anthrocon." She said, "Yes. And your name?" "Smelly, Mr. Smelly." And she saw the little Post-it note. And, "Oh, I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Smelly. There are no rooms available." According to her, he flew into a rage and started screaming at her incoherently, and she quickly hung up out of fear. And 5 minutes later, the phone rang again. "Good afternoon. I would like to inquire as to the possibility of obtaining a room for Anthrocon." "And your name?" "Smith." He said, "I'm very sorry, Mr. Smith. The entire hotel is booked for the next 6 years. Goodbye." Oh, apparently, and this guy's not Belgian, apparently late that night after midnight, he had called the nighttime operator demanding the home phone number of the reservation manager so he could call her at home and force her to give him a room. She did not do that, but I told her on the phone, "Do you understand now why we don't want him there?" He, of course, showed up at the convention, and when he showed up, I had taken precautions. I had spoken to a local police officer, a sergeant in the police force. And I said, "This guy might show up, and if he does, we don't want him there." He showed up, and I was going to go out and tell him to go away, but the manager of the hotel very wisely said, "No, you do not engage him. Let the police do their job." So I went around the corner, and I hid around the corner, watching around the corner like this. I saw the police officer walk up to Mr. Smelly, who was sitting in a chair in the lobby. And I couldn't hear. All I could see was the conversation. Mr. Smelly saying, officer saying, and the officer doing this. And Mr. Smelly then left the hotel. That was very rewarding. Have you ever, okay, other than the Belgian, Cheetah, have you had any version of Mr. Smelly that you had to physically remove from your hotel?
That is a good question. We had to physically remove a few people. None who were quite so insistent, though. Most examples where we had to remove people is when we had like cases of substance abuse, or people who get drunk and make trouble every night. So usually, if you lose control of yourself and security has to bring you to your room, we will give you that. It happens to everyone once. But we will note your badge number, and if it happens again, you leave. Same thing if we have to call an ambulance on you and it was your own fault, you're going home. And I think the worst case we once had was that was, I think, the last year in the Maritime, where a British girl was just drunk off her ass, and she got really obnoxious, and we told her to go to her room and sober up, or she would get problems with security. And later that night, we found out that actually, we got a call for security, and we immediately called police too, because two Brits had physically beaten up a drunken guy in his hotel room, because they were fighting for the same girlfriend, and it was just that obnoxious, drunken-ass girlfriend. And we ended having blood all over the balcony and the carpet and in their rooms, and it was really, really nasty. And that was, I think, the one time where we threw people out before the con even started. Yeah, that was the early arrival day, and it was also the same room that basically had a full shopping cart of booze, including the shopping cart, in their hotel room. So, yeah, they had a little bit of a very hard party up there, and that was, I think, the worst case of someone being kicked out of the hotel. I think one of them apologized later, and I think after 2 years or so we allowed him back in, and he's not had any issues until then. But yeah, I'm not going to go into the details what they did in the room. The police kind of reconstructed it afterwards. It was not nice. Would have been CSI worthy. At least two guys had to go to the hospital after that. Yeah.
Now, I want to make sure viewers know, I'm going to emphasize this. We don't like to throw people out. We do not like to ban people. It's the last thing we want to do. Our job is to let people have a good time. If we have to ban somebody, it ruins our good time. So this is not a decision that's taken lightly. Fortunately, 1 year, the guy pretty much made the
excuse me,
decision.
Kagi. I forgot to mention one little detail. We also had to throw out the girl because she was not involved in the fight, but all the while the guys were beating each other's heads in the room. She was lying in the bed and being completely unresponsive. So we then called the medics on her, and she had severe alcohol poisoning and had to be taken to the hospital the same day. So yeah, at least they had the room free to do the cleaning. So your turn now.
Mm-hmm. We had a gentleman that, of course, I get on the call comes on the radio. A man says that security beat him up. Oh boy, another one of these. So I went to operations, and there was this young gentleman. He was lodging the complaint that one of your security people beat me up last night. I said, okay, what is your story? And he said, I simply got onto the elevator at a floor where we ask people, please do not get on the elevator from this floor. It keeps the elevators moving. Got on the floor, he hadn't seen the sign. A giant sign that covers the elevator buttons so you can't push them. He somehow didn't see it when he pushed the button. And he got on the elevator, this gorilla in an Anthracon security uniform grabbed him and hurled him against the wall and caused bruises and terrible injuries to him, and he wanted to file a complaint. I looked at the assembled crew. I said, all right, would the member of security who was involved please step forward? A member of security who was involved is a little lady we call Mama-san. She's about this tall. And she said, yeah, I was the one that was there that night. I said, really, what's your story? And she said, well, I saw him get on the elevator, and I told him to get off the elevator, and he wouldn't get off the elevator, so I told everyone else, this elevator's not going to move until this guy gets off, so everyone else in the elevator grabbed him and threw him out. I said, oh, okay, I see. I said to the gentleman, had you had anything to drink that night? And he said, a little. I said, how much is a little, and what is the nature? He said, 4 or 5 tequilas. And Mama-san, how much tequila did you have that evening? And she said, none. I said, okay, I think I understand the story. Something else I noticed was that this was Saturday morning, and the gentleman's badge was a Friday, 1 day only badge. I said, okay, I understand exactly what went on. The appropriate steps will be taken. Incidentally, your badge is expired. Please get the hell off the premises. I have a small advantage that I don't know if Cheetah has the advantage I have. If I say, get the hell off my premises, he doesn't go, I've got 25 actual City of Pittsburgh police officers working for me. All I have to do is say,
yeah,
to try it, Cheetah.
If we need the police, we have to call them in, but that's basically what we do. The hotel has like the I don't know, the homeowners' rights. So if we want someone gone, we talk to them. They throw them out, and if they don't go, police comes. Just for the last minute, something I remembered. We had one time where we wanted to throw somebody out, but we actually kind of felt sorry for him, and the story goes like this: he was dumped by his girlfriend, and he was so desperate and enraged that he went onto the hallway and with his bare fist punched a hole into the drywall. And yeah, so at first we thought, okay, let's throw this guy out. But at the same moment, he broke all of his fingers. And we said, okay, we think getting dumped by your girlfriend and breaking all your fingers and then having to pay the bill, I think that's enough of that's enough of karma get back you can get. So behave nicely and you can stay, but you've got to pay the bill, and better see a doctor about that. So he came back the next day with like all plastered in and feeling really sheepishly, and it was okay. I was like, okay, poor guy.
Hand, right?
He got punished.
Plaster on his hand, not on.
Sorry?
Only plaster on his hand, not on his penis?
I didn't check. The only time we get to check people's penises if they post dick pics from the hotel gym in public channels.
That's only 1 out of 3 of your attendees.
Probably yes, but not too many people are stupid enough to tweet it. So, yeah. Cheers.
Yes. Prost. Okay, we've used up our extra 15 minutes. Does that mean we're done now?
Yep, I think that means we're done now. Yeah, so
okay,
thanks for the nice talk. That was fun. We should do it again.
Oh, wait. What we need to do is we need to have BBF there the next time you and I are at a bar with our head in our hands telling each other stories. Just have him film that, and then we can just show it, and you and I can be off drinking and laughing while we won't have to do it like this.
After careful editing. We might have
okay, I'll give you that.
We might have to bleep a few names out.
Like Uncle Kage, Cheetah, BBF. Yeah.
So, thanks to your friends online for having us. Was a pleasure to perform for you guys. It's been an awesome weekend. There's still some stuff to come. And at this point, thank you to Kage for being here. And we're going to hand it off to whatever comes next. BBF, kill us.
Auf Wiedersehen.
Bye.
We off?
Silver Gatoman, he bought me a coffee. Silver Gatoman, here is the song for thee. He likes to video all the panels at the cons. You should go and watch them whether they are short or long. Silver Gatoman, you video that's not a jibe. All of you go to his YouTube channel and like and subscribe.